Hello, welcome back to Move Ahead with Talia. On today's podcast, my guest is Freeman Brown. Freeman was on the podcast episode 43, the previous one, where we talked about Freeman's story. Freeman, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here again. Once again,
Yes.
I feel good.
Thank you. Thank you. So, in the last podcast, we spoke about your youth, your family, your home, school, your friends, and things that happened during your youth that brought you to a very difficult situation.
Right.
And then from that point, we were going into the point where you were going to be released from the correctional center and go back home. And I would love to start with that.
Okay. So, when a person is in DOC, Department of Correction, this particular place in particular, I was in. So I started off when I first got sentenced. They sent me to IYC St. Charles. That's a maximum facility for juveniles. So that's a maximum. That's like pulling up to the county jail on 26 in California, and the razor wire and the fences way up in the sky and all this razor wire. I did my first year and a half. I was in IYC St. Charles. After I got my act together and kind of got my head right, and ended up getting transferred to a place called Valley View. Valley View was like a medium or minimum security.
Okay.
And so that's when I became a trustee. I started, changing. So it comes to a point where I have to go before the parole board. So before I go before the parole board, I went to another board where they consider you. I was a trustee. I was a model, prisoner or whatever, student, whatever they refer it as. And so I became, kind of like I was tutoring other guys. At first, I didn't think I was that smart. Then they started sending people for me to help tutor in math and reading and stuff like
Really?
that. And I started feeling my confidence started building a lot more.
Yeah.
And I felt pretty good about that. I was helping people. And I became more like a model student or prisoner, so to speak. Then it came to a point where I went before another board, and they considered me for what is called a furlough. A furlough is when you go before a board and they say, okay, we're going to give you X amount of time to go out on the street to see how you would adapt back to society.
Okay.
So I was kind of nervous. I went before the board, and they have all these documents about your behavior patterns, what you've been doing. While I was there, I had a job in the kitchen. I had a job in the gym doing the laundry, and then I had a job in the kitchen serving food. So I just stayed busy so I wouldn't get into trouble.
Right.
So all of this leading up to when it was time for my release. So I ended up getting a furlough, and I believe I was out for 2 months.
Okay.
I was out for 2 months, and the whole time for the furlough, I was able to go home. I was staying with my mom, but she had moved from where she was previously staying. The neighborhood that she moved in was worse than the neighborhood I was staying in before I went in.
No kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
So I come home for the furlough. That lasted 2 months. I do good because I didn't go anywhere because I was nervous. I was nervous because the climate had changed.
Yes.
When I left, streetwise, if I'm being honest, I didn't really know many people that were selling the heavy drugs. I knew there was a few people in the project building that I lived in, that sold. It was very few. And most people, that I knew that were selling drugs, they were sold like, marijuana, weed, stuff like that. So when I came home off the furlough, fast forward, I came home for the furlough, and it was drugs everywhere.
Oh.
The height of the crack. So we talking about the crack era.
Yeah.
The crack era had exploded, and it was something that was like, it wasn't like it showed in the movie. It was a lot worse.
It was worse.
A lot of the people that was affected by it, and it was either people selling it my age. Most people my age were selling it, and the adults, the parents, grandmothers, and people that I knew for years, they were using it. So the neighborhoods was just different,
So
you know.
what could you do differently, right?
Exactly.
What happened there?
So it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of pressure. I would say for the furlough, I just I was so nervous, Dahlia. I'm serious. I have to be honest. I was so nervous that I didn't want to mess things up because I had literally saw so many guys while I was doing time get released and then come right back. So I've
Right.
seen guys come back, you know,
Yeah.
3 and 4 times, and I had never got one time to get released. So I I made a promise to myself and to my mother that if I got a shot, if I got an opportunity, if I got a chance to get out, I'm not coming back. Never again. Never ever again am I ever coming back. So when I got the furlough, 2 months, I just only time I went outside is to go get something to eat. If I
Okay.
was walking to the restaurant or corner store, get something to eat or drink. So the furlough ended, and I had to go back. You know, I went back, and 3 months later, I had to go in front of the actual parole board, and they some guys they go in, I guess, from having altercations and stuff like that. You can easily get your a person can easily get their um, parole denied.
Right.
They don't have to parole a person. They don't have to parole you,
Right.
and I was aware of that. So I went in front of the parole board, and they granted my parole the first time. They said that I was a model student, that my behavior had changed. I had got amount of time cut because I had got set time from getting in trouble when I first was there.
And your furlough, you didn't have any incidences,
No,
right?
no,
So,
because I stayed
yeah.
inside. I'm like, I'm not going
Good.
nowhere.
Good.
And so they granted my. Fast forward to that, they granted my parole. And like I said, when I got home, I was finally released, and I was paroled. I was so nervous, Dahlia, that I was just like I would say the first 3 months that I got officially paroled, I just stayed in my mother had this really nice couch, and I would go in the living room and I would just sit for hours and just think. And the thing that bothered me the most was my older brother. It affected him in a bad way because my older brother, who I always looked up to and adored, he was on drugs really bad, and some of my uncles and a couple of my aunties was on drugs. Family members, some of my friends whose parents that I knew that were like aunties to me,
Yeah.
they were on drugs, and most of the guys that I know that were my age was selling it. And it was a lot of pressure. So it was a lot of peer pressure. It was a
Yeah.
lot of peer pressure because when I came home, I had, I believe I had like $600 that I had accumulated from working in the kitchen while my time in, and that was some decent. I thought it was decent money, but I'm seeing all these drug dealers and guys rolling up on me that I know.
With nice
All
cars,
nice
nice
cars,
clothes.
jewelry, and clothes, and they had all the girls. I'm just being 100%
Temptation.
real. Oh, it was there. It was right. I'm talking about it was right there. And so what I did was I went and got some clothes to interview. My thing is, well, I'm gonna get me a job. And so I go and get me some interview clothes, and I go and get me some nice. My dad, he had gave me a gold nugget ring that he had that my grandfather had gave him, and he gave me a chain.
Aw.
Yeah, and he gave me a chain. It started off that way. So I get this. My dad gave me this jewelry. I go get these nice clothes. I go shopping so I can go get interviews. Well, I go have my first visit with my parole officer. She's an older lady,
Uh-oh.
and this lady was mean. She did not play. She told me, she said, I bet not find out you selling drugs because I'm dressed
Yeah,
up
you
nice,
dressed
and I got on
up, you
and I got
put
on
on-
jewelry. I got the jewelry that my father gave me, And this woman was insisting. She did, I guess, she dealt with so many guys,
Yeah, of
that she's
course.
dealing with that's gotten parole that she's dealt with. And I told you, guys were coming in and out while I was there,
Yeah.
and they were, for guess what, selling drugs.
Yeah.
And so I
So
I
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So I know you mentioned there was a situation where you got lured in.
oh, okay, yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yes. So what happened was, fast forward to that, and I was adamant on the fact that I was not going to go back. Was nothing nobody could say to me or do to get back. Well, my the temptation, it really, my thoughts got tested.
Yeah.
So I'm standing out. My dad was staying on 55th and Garfield at the time. And so I go and visit my dad, and I'm leaving his place, and I'm standing there on the bus stop, and a guy that I was inside with, I won't say his name, but he pulled up, and he's like in a white Bronco, kind of like the white Bronco that became infamous with the O.J. Simpson. It would look just like that. But of course, this was years before that situation happened. But he pulled up, and he had a white Bronco too, and he's in the car, and he's in that car with three other guys. And he pulls up. He's like, "Hey, man, where you going?" And at the time, I was actually on my way up to Kennedy King College. It was on 69th Street at the time, on the south side. It was a community college. So I was going to go up there and enroll, take a few classes or whatever. So I get in the car. He's like, "Man, jump in." So I get in, and I'm telling you, you talking about the most temptation ever. It was he was driving, and there was another guy in the passenger seat, and there's two other big guys in the back, and I'm sitting in the middle. And so he's talking the whole time. I'm riding with him. We spent the whole entire day. I spent the whole entire day with this guy. He took me to his drug houses. He took me to. He made the other guys stay in the car. He told, he allowed me to come in and meet his family, his kids, his wife at the time, his house. We went from there. We went to his family's house. Most of his uncles and his family members, they worked for him in the drug operation. He showed me all his stash houses, and the whole time he's like courting me in a way, recruiting me in a way, and just telling me like, "Look, you don't got to touch nothing. You could just be like a manager. You don't have to touch nothing. I just want you to watch the money. You're trustworthy when you was inside. We know that you can fight, and we know that you can fight, and we know that you're not scared, and I know that you're trustworthy." And so I'm thinking, because the little money that I had, I went shopping with. I don't have any money.
Right.
I wasn't dating anybody at the time. I'm seeing these guys with all these girls. So we spent the whole entire day and went to all of these clubs that were in the neighborhood or nearby that I lived by. It was some bars and lounges and clubs that were really popular at that time, that all the drug dealers used to hang out at. And when I went, it was just amazing. I seen so many guys that I went inside with, guys that I knew before I went, and we spent the whole night just driving from spot to spot. I was with this guy. When I got in the car with him, it was like 10 o'clock that morning, some early in the AM. When he dropped me off, it was the same time the next day.
You were with him for 24 hours.
24 hours.
And he was
showing
you the life.
Yes.
The life he lives.
Yes.
And now you had a choice to make.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, he dropped me back off where I got in the car with him on 55th and Garfield. I walked in the house. I was tired, and my dad was sitting I remember my dad sitting in the living room, and I went and sat down, and I talked to my dad about what happened, and he kind of gave me a talk. He gave me a reality talk, and he said, "Well, you know right from wrong. Just make it simple. You know right from wrong, And if you get involved in that, you just be prepared to come what comes with it. And a few years later, just to fast forward, I want to say I did not get involved in that because I started thinking about seeing how the neighborhood was, kind of decimated, and it was just like those old videos that they show of like the Bronx, New York, and neighborhoods were starting to look like that in Chicago. And people walking around like looking like zombies, like in those zombie movies. People on crack, and crack was like it was crack vials everywhere. So I didn't get involved in it. I decided that I'm not going to do it, and that so that's something that I'm proud of that I didn't get involved in.
You should be. Did you go to school?
Yes, I went enrolled at Kennedy King at Kennedy King.
Good.
And I became interested in like the radio stuff, but I didn't pursue it. But it was something. It was interesting while I was there, just to be around people because hip hop was taking off at that time, and I got to meet like some of my favorite groups that came through there.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal for me, and
well, it was important that your dad was there that morning when you got home to talk to you.
Well, that's a true story. He really influenced me to not get involved in it, and really left it up to me. And I just started thinking. I started looking at what was around me, and just to show you how temptation sometimes, and then when you decide to make the right decision, how things come full circle. When years later, I mean, and just a couple to a few years later, truthfully, everybody that was involved in that operation, they ended up handing out heavy indictments. The feds kind of swooped down, and I know for a fact if I would have got involved in it, I would have really, it really got good at it. Which there's nothing good about doing that, but I would have took off in it, and I would have been involved in it too. I would have been one of the ones that got sent up for 20 years, like most of those guys got.
Unfortunately, we know that that path only leads to two avenues.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, it's true.
And what are those?
Most of the guys that I know, they didn't make it out. They either went to jail for long periods of time, or they got killed, from shootouts and things like that.
Yeah.
The neighborhood that I moved into with my mother, when I came, it was, we were still living in poverty. She had a 1-bedroom apartment with it was with a bunk bed in the kitchen, and the kitchen was a nice size, but the bunk bed was like over in the corner, and so I had a lot of struggles just trying to overcome the peer pressure of, because I could have had a lot of money, but I'm thankful that I was able to not do that, because I seen later what happened to the guys that was doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm thankful too. I'm glad that your family was there for you and to help guide you through that very difficult time. Yeah, that's very, very, very important. So we all have, moments of doubt, right, in our life, which clearly you went through many of them, but came out on the other side. What do you do now to, when you have, a setback or moments of doubt? What helps get you through that?
Well, I went through a time period, being a young teenager at that time. So I'm like 18 or 19 during that time, and I really, really started thinking about the consequences about things. If I do this, what can happen?
Yes.
Because the easy thing to do is to just look at what you can get out of something.
Right.
The
quick
quick fix. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing that I really started focusing on.
Good.
And I started, I started really thinking about what happened, because honestly, it took me a while to overcome, through counseling and therapy and stuff like that, to overcome the incident that happened that caused me to get incarcerated.
Right.
I used to hear the gunshot for a long time and wake up in cold sweats. And I started thinking about, things that happened while I was there. It didn't happen to me, but things that I witnessed or that I knew that was happening. And so when people talk about being incarcerated, I think it should be noted, and young folks in particular should be noted that the cool things that you don't see, don't think that prison or being incarcerated, I don't care if it's a juvenile or if it's an adult facility, jail is jail is jail.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I don't get caught up in how much time I did, how much time my crime I did. It doesn't matter. I got it the first time.
Yes.
And if I can get it the first time, I want to inspire somebody else to get it the first time, if possible.
That's
or right. if you get engulfed in crime life or getting in gangs and doing the wrong things, I'm a firm believer, and you're looking at a living example, that you don't have to stay where you are.
That's right.
You do not have to stay where you are.
That's right. Well, one of the questions I was going to ask you is, in hindsight, what lesson do you feel was like the most important lesson from what you've been through? But that's a really important lesson, what you just said. Just because you're in this situation doesn't mean you have to stay there. Yeah, that's really, really important.
Yeah, the lesson, and one of the other, I'm glad you said that. The other most important lesson that I learned is that something that could take a second to do the wrong way could take you years to undo and do it the right way. And a little bit of just a moment in time where you could do the wrong thing, it can get you a whole lot of time, a lot of grief, a lot of and really cause your family to suffer. Yes. I'm still hearing stories from my family, and and now I'm 54, and I'm still hearing stories from my siblings, just being able to talk candid with them and honest with them, and some of my family and friends at family gatherings, where they were when they found out that I was arrested and what I was arrested for. It was so.
And how did they
feel? How it affected them.
Right, how it impacted them. Yeah.
How it impacted and affected them.
Yes.
And so my message to young people and just people in general is that think about what you do, think about what you would like to do. Find I read some influential books like A Purpose-Driven Life, and just different influential people that I've studied, and different people that like reading things from Maya Angelou, and just different positive, influential people. As much as a person is in a negative environment or in a negative situation, if you want to change, you can change. Try to hang around as many positive people that you can.
That's right.
And that's another thing that I did. Yes. Although the environment I was in, I would do things like leave the area that I was in, and I would go downtown, take a ride downtown. I was on public transportation back then, heavy on public transportation. I would take a bus ride and then catch the train and go over by the Buckingham Fountain downtown Chicago and just go somewhere nice, go sit on the lakefront and look at the water and just think about positive things that I want to do. I stay in deep thought, even right now today. I stay in deep thought about things that I want to do. And when you can manifesting thoughts, but after you manifest thoughts, you have to put the action into what you think about. And faith without works is dead.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's well said. And I love that you mentioned, how, many people just want to take an easy route. And unfortunately, that easy route doesn't get you really long-term benefits.
No.
Right?
No, it does not.
It doesn't.
Many of the guys many of the friends that I've had that I don't really know anybody that was able to sustain crime life, whether it be drugs, gangs, long term. I don't know. I would struggle to find just one person to where not only that they were able to sustain that lifestyle, but able to benefit from it
Right.
because they either got indicted. So many of my friends, whether it was the building that I stayed in, my parents, like I said, my dad he lived in 4950 South State in the Robert Taylor Homes housing project. My mother stayed 10542 South Edbrook. All the old every neighborhood that I've ever lived in, you go back, I would go back, to, see certain people, certain of my friends, moms, they all love me still. And it's always a sad story about who got shot, who didn't make it, who got this amount of time, who got that amount of time.
Right.
And jail is no joke. What doesn't get don't emphasis put on it is enough emphasis does not get put on the sexual assaults that happen in prison, the murders, the suicides, the extortion, the downside to that. And I was just out, and just to be clear, I just dealt with it on a juvenile level.
Right.
Imagine the adult level. I was in a maximum facility for juveniles, and so I have people in my family and friends that I know that have way worse stories. But the thing of it is, you're doing time, but you don't. If you have another opportunity, I use my opportunity to turn things around.
That's right.
I wanted because I wanted to change,
That's right.
and I want to inspire, others to change. If you want to, you can. You can better your circumstances. Stay active. One of the things that I do, even right now today, I go to the park and, to get good fresh air. I don't work out in gyms. I go and I do push-ups in the park and stuff like that. I take my jump rope to stay active, and I do, do 30 minutes of jump ropes and do push-ups and body squats and stuff like that. I try to eat as healthy as possible and walk around in an environment where there's positivity, where you can collect your thoughts and think about, what you want to do. And when you think positive things happen. Because I can certainly say when I put myself in positive environments, even when I first got my first job, when I came home, I was making, I'm sure minimum wage is much more now, but back then it was like $3.35 an hour. And so what I learned is I've been in different work environments since then. Because I stayed active, something better always happened after that.
Yes.
I would hang in there, get good at it, work my butt off, keep my head on straight, and something good would happen. It always spiraled into something much better happening.
Yeah. And I agree that to have a successful life, it's a daily grind to be successful. It's not something you do once a week,
Right.
once a month.
Right.
You have to do this daily. You have to wake up in the morning. You have to have a plan.
Yes.
To, what is your intention for the day? These are the things that I think if they're instilled in our youth at a young age, that it's the daily habits, the intentions of, doing something better, whether it's in school or with the family or with the friends. That's half the battle is the daily habits.
It's essential.
Yeah.
Everything you said, an extension on what you said is, it's essential because, looking back on where I came from, I'm very, very thankful and blessed to be, in the position that I am now.
Yeah.
Because I was not only, in a better position in life, but I have a host of family members, nieces, nephews, my own 3 kids that I raised, and I was really hands on with them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them living in the projects, living in bad conditions, a bad environment, in a negative environment,
Right.
and things like that. So they never saw that.
Yeah.
Because I made sure that it wasn't happening on my watch.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You are setting such a great example for your family and, of course, for the youth that have the opportunity and the blessing to see you and see and listen to your story. I want to ask you, since you were raised in Chicago and with all the things that have happened to you, what is it that you love about living in Chicago?
Okay, so
We got to bring in the positive.
okay, so the positive parts about Chicago is, I would say hands down, it's a lot to do here.
Yeah.
You know, from the Art Institute to the parks and lakefronts, and
Yes.
we have a lot of I've been around the country many times, and our landscape, you know, and skyline, and we just got a lot of it's a lot of beauty here. Now, sometimes the crime in the city gets overshadows the beauty of it,
Yeah.
but it's way more beauty here. And to be honest, we got the best food. I've been around the country. I've had some amazing food.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, our food selection, we got the best food hands down.
I agree.
We got the best food hands down.
We are top notch when it comes to food in Chicago. It's that, hands down, best food, best music. And like you said, the skyline, the landscapes, the parks.
Yep.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. I mean, and when you're out and enjoying yourself and get out and hit the city, I would say most people are out to have a good time.
Yes.
People are out to have a really good time.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think at the age that I'm at now and where my mind is at now, I really endorse positivity and having a good time, you know, taking it back to that.
Yes.
You know, and that, I think overall most people, they just want to have a good time and have simple things in life, you know.
Yep. Good health.
Good
friends.
Good friends.
Yeah. Family.
Family.
Those are the most important.
It's universal.
Things. Yeah, it is.
It's universal.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you, talk to you about your story, hopefully, you know, get you into speak about what you've been through to help influence the youth, how can anyone get a hold of you?
My email address that a person can reach me at is Freeman, Freeman, speaks, the number 2, the letter U, at gmail.com.
Okay. Freeman speaks
to you.
At gmail.com.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Freeman.
Thank you.
This was amazing.
I want to say, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead. One more.
I want to add something. I have some opportunities that I have in front of me. One of the facilities, when I was there, I always said I wanted to go back and speak because they had speakers come in there and speak while I was there. And so now I'm in the process of, it's looking really good, the process of booking me being booked to go back in there and speak myself.
Really?
So yeah, that's gonna be a highlight for me because
wow.
I was one of those guys, knucklehead guys, young guys sitting there, you know, and being
that's
spoken
wonderful.
to.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You realize how impactful that's going to be.
Yes.
And like you said before, I know you mentioned this in the past, how as long as you touch one person's life to help guide them out of whatever unfortunate situation they're in, that's good enough.
And you're right. And that is the main thing, you know, living a more purpose-driven life for me. That's what it's about. It's about people, how you impact people, how you influence people, because those things are powerful.
Yes.
Those are very powerful things. Because you can be impacted in a negative way, and you can be impacted in a positive way. And even when you're being impacted in a negative way, you can still turn it around into a positive. Turn every negative in your life into a positive.
Well, I could tell that you're going to have a wonderful legacy to live and leave, because you are you're trying to live that purposeful life. And that's so important for the community that you're in and for the people that are around you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dahlia. I really appreciate you having me. It's been an honor. I'll be willing to come back anytime you have me.
I'd love that. Thank you so much, Freeman.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for listening today. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe so you can keep up with my latest episodes. You can find me on all social media platforms at Dahlia the Realtor. To reach me directly, call me at 773-879-4855. I'll see you on the next episode. Make it a great day.